Hello and welcome to Forum for a Better Understanding. You know, it's the 356th time that we've been around this table, but only the second time that we're going to talk about suicide, signs of suicide, people that are working to prevent suicide, organizations committed to this. We have three very important guests who will share from their personal and professional experience the importance of seeing signs, addressing them, and helping people through difficult times. My first guest to my left is Marissa Holzman, LCSW, Program Director of Central Valley's Behavioral Health System's Suicide Prevention Line, which is managed by Kingsview. In the middle of our group, we have Sergeant Brian Rogers, a negotiator with the Fresno Police Department. He is a board member of Fresno Survivors of Suicide, and he'll share the work of that organization and also the PD in this important work. Across from me is Victoria Velasquez, a survivor of 2 suicide attempts, who will share with us, as no one else can, the signs that we need to be looking for and how to address their causes. She is presently peer support specialist at Kingsview Blue Sky Wellness Center here in Fresno. As we begin, I wonder if there's one thing else about yourselves that you may like to share to our viewers to let them know just a little bit more about yourselves. Marissa.
I would like to share my excitement that Kingsview, along with California Mental Health Services Authority, is bringing a new program for suicide prevention to the Central Valley, and that will be beginning September 22nd. I'm very excited about this. We've been planning this for a long time.
I'm so glad that we can be in some way connecting with that opening of this new program at Kingsview and CalMisha. Brian.
Well, in addition to being a police sergeant and a member of Fresno Survivors of Suicide Loss, I'm also a Catholic. I'm a member of a new parish, Divine Mercy, in Clovis.
Nice.
So it's exciting to be Catholic, and you know, Pope Benedict talks about the culture of death that we have in the United States, and suicide, abortion, and euthanasia, those type of things. So anything I can do as a police officer, as a Catholic, to promote life, I'm happy to do.
I am so glad you're here. It is so nice to meet someone that we did not know a week ago, and now we can consider him a police officer whom we're really looking forward to deal with in the future. Thank you very much, Brian. Victoria, what can you tell us about yourself and the wonderful work you're doing over at Blue Sky?
I'm really excited to be here. This is my first time on TV, so I'm kind of nervous. This is a very important topic. It's something that a lot of people don't like to discuss because of how traumatizing and uncomfortable and really abnormal. So I'm really glad we're talking about it because a lot of people need to know, because it just doesn't affect certain individuals. It can affect anybody.
And we're going to be looking at some of those very programs that are helping us become more aware of the issue and also how we can address it. That would bring up Marissa. Can you start telling us something about your work at Kingsview? And also, we have those slides of Kingsview and CalMisha. Maybe we'll show them, and you can start talking about these wonderful organizations that you're connected with.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim. The Central Valley Suicide Prevention Hotline is a program that's funded through the California Mental Health Services Authority. It's managed by Kingsview. Kingsview is an organization that has been providing behavioral health services in the Central Valley all the way to Northern California for over 60 years. By way of background, in 2004, California voters supported an act called Proposition 63. And that was an act that provided dollars that would go into many, many programs, including prevention. The Mental Health Services Authority has 3 pieces to what they're doing, especially. One piece has to do with a student mental health initiative, which is increasing and enhancing the mental health of young people from kindergarten all the way up to college. And another piece is a stigma and discrimination reduction initiative, which has to do with changing stereotypes about mental health and increasing public awareness about wellness and recovery, which fits into what Victoria is going to be speaking to later. We also have part of that CalMisha dollars is dedicated to what brings us here today as well, which is suicide prevention.
What is it about the outreach, how large your scope is? We know the diocese is the 8 counties of the Central Valley. You seem to be getting with Fresno and moving north. What counties are included?
We cover 5 counties. It's Fresno, Madera, Merced, Stanislaus, and Mariposa counties. We provide 3 services 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
And this inaugural hotline, how significant is it to you to know that it is, it's the inaugural one?
Well, there are many programs and agencies that have provided suicide prevention in the past and throughout California. This, however, is one concerted effort, and it includes using both volunteers and paid staff. And we have an outreach capability that's going to extend to these 5 counties with a service that's not been available all day and all night long.
How great would you say the need is for this suicide prevention hotline? How severe is the issue? Is it actually becoming worse, or with time, is it that statistics are looking more positive or more negative? How is the situation of mental health? I think we're going to be learning how desperate it is.
You're right. Suicide is a major preventable public health issue. And the statistics regarding suicide are alarming. Suicide is estimated to be the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. We have over 36,000 people a year dying due to suicide in our nation. In California, we're also 10th in the nation as far as it's the 10th leading cause of death. And so when we look at suicide prevention, we're looking at people of all ages, all backgrounds, all socioeconomic groups, all religions, all kinds of people from backgrounds. And suicide occurs across the line. The Central Suicide Prevention Hotline works diligently reflecting the communities that we serve. And what that means is that our volunteers and our paid staff are reflecting the populations that we're here to serve, meaning we have Spanish speakers, Hmong speakers on staff. We're looking toward expanding our language capacity. We have an ability to tie into an international line as well for language. We have Spanish-speaking and Hmong-speaking volunteers. We have people of all ages, from young people to elders, because there's a growing need with our older population because of an increase in suicide with them.
One thing that might be good before we bring on Brian for a moment would be the 2 slides that we have that are for people to be able to reach you and to know that there's resources. Could you put those up, Greg? Let's look at each one of those. What will we want to do with that 888 number?
Your Voice Counts is part of a statewide effort. It's very exciting. Your Voice Counts is going to be having a suicide prevention program or campaign that they roll out in September. And people from the community are invited to tune in and connect with Your Voice Counts. I'm sorry.
And then the other slide. No, that's good for that one. Now, what is the website? What can they learn from CVSPH? What's basically the resource there?
Okay. The Central Valley Suicide Prevention Hotline, the number that you see there is for both people who need help family members who are struggling with somebody who needs help or a friend. And it's also a number to call if somebody has the heart and a willingness to try to instill hope in somebody else by becoming a volunteer.
Well, thanks for giving us that initial overview of what your work is. Now let's look at the sergeant over what the police department's been doing. So Sergeant, how does the PD approach a crisis situation?
Well, generally, a crisis situation starts with a 911 call. We're going to have somebody who is either suicidal or contemplating suicide, and sometimes there's a national hotline that they can call. It's very nice now that we have a local hotline. When they call the national hotline, it doesn't connect them to local resources right away. So it's very nice to have the Central Valley hotline up and running. But in those immediate needs, in crisis, someone calls 911, generally a police officer responds, EMS responds. We assess them for what we call a 5150 evaluation, and then sometimes they are committed to the hospital for immediate care if they've attempted suicide or made an overdose or something like that.
How long have you been involved in this part of your police work, Sergeant?
I've been a police officer for 25 years. I did active crisis negotiation for 13 years, and I was a team leader for 5 years of the hostage negotiation team.
How often might you be in one of these crisis situations, either yourself or the average person who's involved in this part of police work? How often is this part of your work?
Unfortunately, police officers deal with this issue every single day in Fresno. In 2010, there were 54 completed suicides in Fresno County. In 2011, there were 90 completed suicides in Fresno County. So we've literally doubled our rate. And it fluctuates from year to year, but we are seeing an uptrend. And I think it has to do with the economy. People are depressed about job loss and home loss and things like that. If you balance that against homicide in the city of Fresno, we had 43 homicides in 2011. So twice as many people are dying by their own hand as are dying, by others.
That is very distressing, because I've always thought the numbers of homicides in Fresno was like horrendous, awful, horrific, and like what can be worse than all these people killing each other? What's more tragic is the suicide, because there would definitely be, I would think, ways that could be avoided. It's like, so your work is, what a difficult call you have to be in that type of police work.
Difficult, but really rewarding. We see so much death in our line of work that those times where we can intervene.
Oh yeah.
And suicide is a 100% preventable illness. It stems from depression, which is a treatable problem, just like a common cold.
Exactly.
It's difficult to treat, but we can prevent suicide if we can treat depression, and if people have the resources available to them to get the help they need.
Before the break, there's 2 more questions for the sergeant. Otherwise,